Hello everyone and welcome back to another one of our stringing videos. Today we're going to be looking at one-piece stringing on the NEOS 1000 machine. This is not something you're going to do unless maybe one of two situations arise. This machine is always going to favor two-piece stringing, mainly because of our drawbars in here. What's the one downside of these drawbars is that you can't have one going horizontally and you can't have one going vertically at the same time. It just doesn't work. It won't cooperate with you. So you're kind of always stuck either having these both facing this way or both facing the other way, or having just one in, as we looked at in the previous video. I'm not doing anything fancy at all in this video either. We're not going to attempt an around the world pattern on this machine. It may be possible if you start getting really fancy with like floating clamps and you try to incorporate a starting clamp, but again, that's not what this machine is designed for. But before we get into that, what are the two situations where you might be doing one-piece stringing? So situation number one, this is the most common one, is when you have a racket that only has 4 grommets that are suitable for tie-offs. This racket is great because it gives us some visual feedback. Hopefully you guys can see these grommets. There are 6 red grommets, and on this racket, that's telling me that's where the tie-offs can occur. When you have 6 suitable places to tie off, you can do your 2-piece 4-knot stringing. When you get cheaper rackets or some older rackets, they are only going to have 4 suitable places to tie off. 2 in the throat, 2 in the head. And when that happens, you have no choice but to really do a one-piece. You could always try to like force a grommet bigger, but would not recommend that. I'd recommend going one piece in that situation. The other situation is if somebody asks for it. If somebody says, I do not want 2-piece, I want 1-piece, very rare. Some people on the Pro Tour, I believe, ask for that, but with clients, that might very rarely occur. And when that happens, you're also going to be doing one-piece stringing. And with this racket, I'm going to be doing one-piece stringing. The big issue with this racket, and the reason why, again, on the NEOS, this isn't encouraged, is that when I finish my mains finish at the bottom. That's not true with all rackets. On a lot of rackets, the mains finish at the top. When your mains finish at the top, you have no problem doing your one-piece stringing because you're still going top to bottom. And top to bottom puts less stress on the frame than going bottom to top. Is it gonna really cause any problems here? No. Is it gonna cause problems for you? Rarely, but it is just something to be aware of. So let's go ahead and go through this. This video is gonna be a little bit quicker. Oh man, this video is going to be a little bit quicker than some of our previous ones because we can skip through a lot of stages. We're already mounted, we've already cut out the strings, we already have our drawbars in the right place. Now we have to pull strings. So instead of doing those 2 pieces of pulling, we're going to be doing 1. So for me, I know every arm's length like this is basically 6 feet. So if I was before doing like, you know, kind of 3 and a little bit and then 3 and a little bit for my mains, just 3 for my crosses, I now need to basically do 6 pulls. For me, that's gonna be the right distance. For you, it may not. So I already know that. Again, this is where it all comes down to the person and how you determine your length. Remember, my rule of thumb though, is it's always better to have too much than to have too little. So I'm just getting this started right now by pulling some out. Okay, luckily with this cheap tournament nylon, it doesn't really kink on itself or anything. And that might be enough. We'll see. We'll see how good of a job I did. Uh-oh, I can't find the end. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's always a problem too. Let me make sure I've got the clamp I need to cut off, and now we're gonna go through it. So the way I look at this, 6, 12, 18, 24. Uh-oh, let's see if we get into trouble here. Can always fix it in advance. 30, 36, and now just to be safe, I'm gonna pull a little bit extra. This is probably way too much, but that's okay for our purposes here, especially in the video. I would hate to mess it up. It's so rare that I do one-piece stringing jobs as well, so I have to be safe, okay? I'm not gonna take a risk and under-pull the amount of string I need. So if you think about it, we now need to have 1/2 of string, or one side of string is just gonna be for half of the mains. So normally the mains take 20 feet of string. And if they take 20 feet of string and my pulls are 6, what I'm gonna do in this case is I'm just gonna do 2 pulls, okay? And I know that I should be safe. Again, when you're learning, definitely go about it this way. If you're not learning, you know, you're probably not watching this video, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so 6, 12, that's gonna be plenty. Now, I'm keeping my finger right at that point, and you will see why in a second, because I am now gonna feed it through on one side, and now what I'll be doing is using a starting clamp. Okay, you guys probably may not do this, but you can always use a marker or something. So I'm gonna keep pulling it. I could lock it in right now, and maybe we'll do it this way, so I won't use the starting clamp. I'm actually just gonna lock this in right now, and I should be good on that one side. Now the rest of the string, I'm gonna have to pull through, and this is gonna be for my other half of mains and also my crosses. So you can see I'm still pulling, pulling, pulling. And let's get this guy set up. Nice, and in this case, I don't have to go walk it out and make sure it's even on both sides. Okay? And I'm just watching this guy very closely. So in some ways this will save you time, in other ways it will actually slow you down. So I'm good on that side, my machine is locked, I'm always gonna check that just to make sure. And right away I'm just gonna pull tension on my long side. Try to get all this string to come through. Okay. I'm sure some people watch these videos and they cringe, like, oh my gosh, look at all the string this guy is wasting. This reel is about 15 bucks. If I was using something like NRG that's so expensive, trust me, I'd be a lot more careful. And we're just gonna go through, and once I go and I do my crossover to the other side, I'll just go ahead and speed up the video until a later point when we start to finish the one side and have to transition over to the other. That's really the important part of this, is that sequence right there. You can see how long it takes me to pull through that string. So I would actually say a two-piece is probably gonna save you a little bit of time because of all the extra string that you have to pull through when you do the one-piece method. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's just speed it up a little bit, and we'll slow down when we need to. Just remember, after I get a couple ahead on one side, I'm gonna switch over to that other side of mains. And if you need to, just go back and watch one of the previous two videos. All right, and pulling tension, and we'll do one more before we switch over. Okay, to the other side. Watching somebody string tennis rackets is probably up there as one of the most boring things there is. But I don't know, maybe if you got some kind of weird ASMR, I think that's what it's called. If you got some kind of weird ASMR, this might be good for you. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna pull tension. And again, if this was a client's racket, I wouldn't go that far ahead. You know, I'd probably be switching sooner. But for me, I really don't care. On my own racket. I know that's horrible to say, but I just don't really care that much. If this racket snaps in half today, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. This is at this point just the racket that I'm using for these videos. Okay, so now we're gonna switch over to the other side. Nothing really fancy or special. It's exactly the same as it was before. I just wanted to let you guys see that I don't really change anything with my process when I come over and do a one-piece versus a two-piece. But this side, you have so little string that you're pulling through. This is like normal here. Okay, and hopefully we have enough, right? We'll get a chance to see. And when you're learning and all that good stuff, you know, you're gonna have some mess ups and you're gonna have some trials and tribulations, and that's okay. That's part of the learning and growing process with anything you do. So let's go ahead, let's just speed up this video, and when we finish off our mains, we'll jump back in here and I'll talk a little bit. Okay, so we're now getting down to the last pull on one side, and let's go ahead and finish that off. Now when I finish it, I'm just gonna clamp it like usual, but I'm not gonna bring it back through the tie-off location. That should come as no surprise to anybody. All right, so let's go ahead, pull tension for the last time. I'm going to clamp it off, and I'm actually going to clamp it off a little bit higher than I normally would, and you'll understand why in a second. So there's a little bit more space there. That's going to be the first cross that I go through. And I'll be clamping off the other one a little bit high too. Okay, so let's get that string out of the way. So now we have our last two on the other side, and this side I am going to tie off on. This is what would be referred to as the short side right here. Okay, so here we go. And you can see I have plenty of string left over. So I was fine with how much I pulled. Way too much. But that's okay. For the purposes of this video, when you're learning, more string sometimes the better, just to be safe. Okay, so there is our last one. I clamp off. All right, now I'm gonna tie off on this side. All right, so I go down and I tie off. All right, and we'll just do our regular old boring knot here. Double half hitch. 1 and 2. Okay. Nice and bulky, nice and strong. That will suit our purposes just fine for this video. All right, so I cut off the tail. Now, I'm over to the long side. Here's where we've run into some trouble. I would always normally want to be starting my crosses up here and going from throat down to head, okay? Obviously that's not gonna work because I'm gonna have this long piece of string running. So I'm gonna have to actually start and go throat to head. So that's the reason why this isn't great. That's why you'd always wanna be using like an around the world pattern or whatever. But I'm gonna be coming in here and I'm gonna do this first one, okay? And we'll just go ahead and start the cross. Not getting fancy, I'm taking my time here. All right, make sure that that's not gonna cause a problem. And actually, you have to remember that the start that you're doing, like sometimes pulling a lot of extra string isn't bad when you're learning, because the part that's really getting chewed up and messed up is the beginning of the cross, that if you finish with a lot of extra string, that's the part that's getting cut through anyway, okay, or getting cut off. So now I'm going to pull this through, and actually, to reduce friction, you'd normally now be going up, which is very weird for me. I don't like that. It seems very strange. Again, I very rarely do these. And now what I could do is I could just go ahead and pull tension right now. But what I'm seeing is that I still have room. And this is part of the reason why I clamp off a little bit high, because I still want to do like my one ahead approach. So I'm going to do one more of these. And again, it's not running into the clamp, thank goodness. And then I can keep this routine the whole way. And that has to start over, and now I'm right back in my nice sequence. And here's where my hands are getting all weird, which again, if I'm going the other way, probably isn't happening. Everything is backwards for me right now, and you can see I just made a mistake. What stupid thing did I just do? I just went under in front of the clamp. So that's not gonna work. I gotta go down, make sure I don't get myself into trouble, staying away from the clamp this time on the proper side. And now all is good, okay? Make sure that your foot doesn't get trapped. You don't want to bear trap yourself. And again, here I'm being kind of careful because I don't want to be rubbing against that clamp too hard, but I'm still leaving some extra string. So now I'm pulling tension. And now is where it's really just interesting. So what's happening is that last main was done on this side, I believe, and then the string is running and coming down. So now you're pulling tension from this distance over to this distance, okay? So we have now pulled tension, and now, believe it or not, this is the one part that really sucks, because when I release these clamps, everything is being held like on this tension head. And again, this is one of the reasons why this is kind of a big no-no. But it's okay, I mean, nothing bad is going to happen, it's just not ideal. So I release one clamp, you can see nothing really changes. I release the other clamp, again, nothing changes, my tension is still being held, everything is all good. Okay, again, this is sometimes where like a flying clamp could actually help you because you can reduce all that weight being held. So now I'm setting up my drawbars the other way, and I'm coming in and I'm clamping off. Okay, and now we are starting our crosses in our one piece. And that's really how that transition works. Okay, so now the only thing that's different and weird, and ooh, you can see that's not good. You can see how much it's pushing that main string. What I really should do is go back and pull that off and make sure that that doesn't happen. But I'm not too concerned with it again because this is just my racket and I'm just showing you guys the process. On a racket like this, I would never actually do this. I would never do a one piece on it because there's just no real logic to it. We can adjust that right away, so we're not in too much trouble. Everything will be fine. Make sure that string is straight. Go in, pull tension, and now I'm going to release it nice and gentle. Let that string come back to normal. And now this time when I go up here and I do this, I want to watch it really closely when I release. Let's see if it pushes those strings again. That time we were okay. Attention to detail, everybody. Attention to detail. Okay, so at this point I can actually just blast through the rest of this video and we'll finish with our tie off at the top. So let's go ahead, and once I do this one, we will speed that video up and I won't come back until the end. In fact, I might even just cut it, I don't know. All right, and now you guys can see we're getting down towards the end. I'm gonna have enough string, but I don't trust I can do that one ahead method here at the very end. So this is something useful to show you. So when I don't trust I can do it anymore, I'm just gonna pull tension. It's all good, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And you guys can see it's very awkward to do this. Like the U's are going in the other direction, and keeping the string straight is kind of a tricky thing for me to do. I don't know if it's just a brain thing, a visual thing, because it's all going backwards. Or just because of this throat to head process. And again, I really do need to stress that like you do want to go two-piece whenever you can. Less strain on the racket, I think also easier for your brain to kind of like work out. And also less can go wrong when you're pulling string. As you guys saw there, I thought I was gonna have a lot left over and I actually didn't. So I probably pulled only 35 or so feet if this is all the string that's left over. And there was a decent amount on the one side. But I definitely didn't pull a ton of string. So we have to go to this last one here. This is one with our skip, so I gotta try to shove it in there. All right, under, and again, right when we got to the end, we had that issue of the strings wanting to push over a little bit. Over, under, over, under. This is a one ahead technique when you get to the end, as you guys can see. What I really should do is just flip my hands the other way, and then I could finish it, but you know, can't teach an old dog new tricks or whatever. I always try to stress, I don't claim to be some kind of stringing guru or anything. I'm just like the average person. So sometimes that actually helps when you watch somebody who's like you go through some similar mistakes and pain as they're stringing. And trust me, I've learned the hard way on things a number of times. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, pull the last one, and it's not any different than anything else that we normally do. We'll put that guy in, and then we're gonna be tying off. And we're gonna be tying off right next to it, actually. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead. It goes into this hole without problems. Again, one of the easy ways to know where you're supposed to tie off is if you're trying to go into holes and it's not going through, that's usually an indicator that that is not where you're supposed to be tying off. You can look that stuff up online too, tie-offs, but sometimes it's not accurate. Like I've done that for a few rackets and I've looked at what it says online and it definitely isn't right. So, you know, go with your gut most of the time. Most of the time you will be fine. And we'll do one more. And then we will be done. So one-piece stringing on the NEOS on a racket that definitely doesn't need to be strung with one piece, but I just wanted to show you guys how you would go ahead and do that. And in a future video, we will be doing an around the world method where when you get down to like your second to last main, you actually start doing your crosses that then you could go throat to, or sorry, head to throat. Okay, let me just cut this off. Sorry, I'm just blabbing at you guys at this point. We clip ourselves out. We unlock the machine. We pull our racket out and oh yeah, so we've definitely got some string movement here. And some of that is on me. Some of that's user error of not doing a good enough job of straightening it out at the time. But when you're used to always going throat to head, that a lot of times is what's going to happen. So this isn't a pretty string job, but our tension is definitely good. We just have our 2 knots there like so. And yeah, that is the methodology for doing one-piece stringing on a NEOS without using anything except for the standard clamps and drawbars that come with it. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon. Take care.